Hello everyone, welcome back. It's 2024. I hope you had a lovely Christmas and a very happy new year. Now, if this doesn't look like Spellcaster, it's because, I know, big news for the start of the year, right? I restarted Spellcaster. Well, it's because I felt that the systems that I had just weren't really usable anymore. There was a lot of code that I wrote much earlier on that I didn't really understand anymore. So I decided to go with a more component-based approach. As well as that, I've added local multiplayer right at the start. This wasn't too hard to get set up, and I also used my own small add-on which I haven't released, which is a shakeable camera, which just means that I can shake the camera in the future if I need to. I've almost re-implemented everything that I had before, and you can see that actually the bullets look really nice now. They are circles instead of squares with rounded corners. As well as that, I also have 2-player control set up, and what this is it just uses an ID for the player, and then a player will use their corresponding ID controls. And I do need to tweak the player 2 controls because they are quite odd, because I haven't really got full controls for them set up. I don't really want you to be cramped on the same keyboard, but I also don't want to force you to use 2 keyboards or 2 controllers. So what I've done is I have the arrow keys, shift, backslash and backspace all as controls for the second player. And it works, but you kind of have to sit sideways to properly use it, and it's quite confusing, so I'm hoping to change it in the future. I also have an adaptive health and stamina bar, so basically when you're in multiplayer, they will make sure that the edge of the health or stamina bar respectively is against the borderline on the multiplayer. I think this just looks a bit better, and I don't know if it's just my personal preference, but it makes it more clear for me. But if you're not in multiplayer, then you will just have one single health bar at the top and a stamina bar underneath it. And I also think this looks much cleaner than the old system, because I feel like more people will much prefer the look of a health bar at the top in the center with a smaller stamina bar underneath than having a health bar and a stamina bar in the top left corner. This is just a small change, and I just think it makes the game look. So even though earlier I did say that I was going with a more component-based system for all of the game's functionality, a lot of the code is still very similar to the original version of the game. However, another thing that's changed is my organization. It has become a lot better, and this just wouldn't be possible in the old project because there was just so many scripts and so many scenes that it would take forever to fix all of the dependencies, and it would just be a massive pain. As well as that, the restart will allow me to fix a lot of the systems that weren't as good before, so it means I can create some better enemy AI right from the start, and I can use inheritance for the enemies. As well as that, I'm going to create a new tile set for the game, and if you haven't seen already, then the player sprite has changed. I originally created a sprite sheet for the original version of the game, but all I did for this was, since there's only one direction of animation, I just use a flip horizontal on the sprite to change it. The way that I made it so that I could visually see the way that the health and stamina bar would change when it was put into multiplayer mode is that I used a tool script with an export variable which you could set to true or false, which was multiplayer. If true, then it would change the position of the health bar so that the innermost edge will align with the divider. This is quite simple. All I do is I just move the progress bar that is used for the health so that it matches with the center divider. Now, the main reason for using the tool script for this is so that I could actually see it in the editor instead of having to run the game each time to see how it looked. I do have to reload the scene when I want to change something in the tool script so that it will update, and you can see that the health bar has actually gone to the center divider here. As well as that, it uses the player's ID to determine whether it should be the left or right edge that it is touching the center divider, and it will just change that based on the player's ID. It does the same thing for the stamina bar with the same numbers, and it's just very basic. It's quite a simple thing to do, but I feel like it gives the multiplayer mode a bit of polish, and when I update the look of the health bars, it will look even better in this mode. Multiplayer mode is something that I was really confused with before I actually looked into it, and then I realised that actually it wasn't too difficult, and all I had to do was set up a test scene and then use viewports on either side of the screen to display that player's view of what the world for them looked like. And it was very simple, and it also means that I can easily change one of the players out for, say, a companion, which might be more adapted to the controls. However, I'm not sure if I want to do this because it might remove the necessity of the split screen. As well as that, when a player gets to 0 HP, instead of reloading the screen and reloading the scene like it would if you were in single player, it will just stop your physics, which means that you can't move, and I will eventually add a system which will respawn you. I'm not sure how this system will work, whether it will just be that you respawn after a certain amount of time, or you can just click a button to respawn, or the other player has to come and respawn you. But if you have any ideas, just leave them in the comments, because I'm still not sure of what I actually want it to be like. As well as that, if you run out of stamina, if it's below 10, then you will slow down to a tired speed, which is slower than your walk speed. This is something I wanted to add before, but I just didn't. So you can also see that there's an updated dash. If you saw the old dash, it was just a load of white squares which were left behind you when you dashed. Now it actually shows the player, and it fades out slowly over time. And I think it just looks much better than before. The difference between the old version and the new version, which actually allows me to do this, is that now instead of using an animated sprite, I use a sprite and then animate it using an animation player. This means that I can actually get the current frame of the sprite, and I can use that for the dash ghost. You can also see that I am changing between a multi-shot and a single shot. This is a system that I newly added, which allows you to do this, and just for this test I press 0 and 1 to change. And this system is actually really good because it means that in the future it will make sure that the given spell will be able to be used. And it also prevents interference from other spells. You can also see that if I change the particle count to 2000, it actually looks pretty good, and it looks like there's a full flame. However, it does lag the game out quite a bit, but if you have a more powerful computer, then I am planning on having it so that you can change the particle count, and then the bullets might look a bit better. But 100 is perfectly enough, and you will be able to put it lower than this, but I feel that this is a good default amount and it looks quite good. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.